Hello and welcome to episode 22 of My Medium Museum's 45 RPM Vinyl Records mixed box number 11. Oh, there's a mouthful. And we got Jimmy Soul, If You Want to Be Happy for the Rest of Your Life, hit number 1 in March of 1963. So, very cool. Nice to have that and in very good condition. Mint condition for that matter. And the B-side, clearly marked as the B-side here, so we know, a song called My Little Room, which I'm not familiar with. But hey, at least I knew the song on the first side. That's the first time that's happened in the last few episodes. Yeah, it's been kind of a rough box for me here. A lot of things that I don't want to call them obscure. I got called out on that. It's obscure if you don't know it. Let's put it that way. So, but it might be a number one hit, but if you don't know it or recognize it by title, it's not something you heard on the radio in the last week, right? So here we've got Motown Yesteryear series with Jimmy Ruffin doing What Becomes of the Broken Hearted. And that seems to kind of ring a bell for me too. Saying it hit number 7 in September of 1966. But I do think that's a song I'm familiar with. And the B-side of this one is the same artist with a song called I've Passed This Way Before, which hit number 17 in December of 66. And again, is not something that I am familiar with. So, moving on, we've got an Atlantic, and I don't think this is a reissue here. I think this is an original. Clarence Carter doing Patches, hit number 4 in August of 1970. And the B-side of this one is a song called excuse me, a little burp come out of nowhere there. A song called Say It One More Time. And at least it is, again, Clarence Carter. And I do, like I said, I think this is an original, not a reissue like all the others that we've been looking at recently. Next up, we've got a song called Traces by Dennis Yost and the Classics 4. Now, I've heard of the Classics 4, and on this Silver Spotlight series, they interestingly, they like to put the info on there for you. So it hit chart number 2, position number 2, and was released in February of 1969. So I do know Classics 4. I've never heard the name Dennis Yost before, and this song Traces doesn't ring any bells. So kind of interesting there in a couple of ways. The B-side is the, again, Dennis Yost and the Classics, Every Day With You Girl. So hit number 19 apparently in May of 1969 with that one. So next up, we've got, I think this seems a little odd, a band called Steam. You think they're reaching for band names these days? That's an odd name for a band, isn't it? Steam. Nay, nay, hey, hey, kiss him goodbye. Hit number 1. November of 1969. You think a song that hit number 1, I would recognize somewhat, especially in 1969, because that is my era. But it's a Mercury Celebrity Series reissue. Just not something that I am familiar with. The B-side, at least, is another song by the same band, Steam again, with Don't Stop Loving Me. Not to be confused with Fleetwood Mac's Don't Stop. But, yeah, again, not something I'm familiar with. But maybe so. Maybe if we gave it a spin, it might just be something I know. But not by the title. Next one up, we've got Brenton Wood. Brenton Wood. I was going to leave the on off there. Brenton Wood doing Gimme a Little Sign. Not Gimme a Little Sign. Or just Gimme a Little Sign. Kind of weird. Double Shot Records. That's kind of a cool logo, and that's definitely one that I haven't came across enough times for me to recognize. But hit number 9 in September 1967 with Gimme a Little Sign. Okay. The B-side is again the same artist with I Think You've Got Your Fools Mixed Up. So it's kind of a cool title. But there again, nothing that rings any bells for me or nothing I'm familiar with. Hopefully somebody out there knows it and brought back a memory for you. So, next up, we've got Jimmy Ruffin on RSO, which I always kind of associate with disco, because most of these RSOs were disco bands, disco artists that they were promoting. But Hold On to My Love, Jimmy Ruffin, hit number 10 in March of 1980 with that one. So who knows, it could be a little dance music, if not disco. The B-side this is interesting. It's the instrumental version of Hold On to My Love. So you do a little karaoke in there to it if you knew the song and knew it well and wanted to do a little singing. I kind of like those. You run across those every once in a while where you've got the straight version on the A side and the instrumental version on the B side. I always thought that was kind of cool, actually. So, kind of neat to get those like that. Now we've got a Columbia Hall of Famer, and it is someone I have never heard of. Adrisi Brothers, Adrisi, something along those lines, brothers. We've Got to Get It On Again. Hit number 25 in February of 72 with that one. And the B-side of this one here is a song I Can Count on You, which doesn't have any notation, so apparently that one probably didn't chart. But it was released in October of 72, according to the notations on this Hall of Fame reissue from Columbia. So, next up, we've got a Polydor one, which we haven't run across one of those recently. We have run across them in this box. I have shown some lately with that Band of Gold series notation there on the label. Ray Peterson, Karina. I think that's something I would be familiar with if I put it on and gave it a spin. Hit number 9 in December of 1960 with that one there. And on the B side, we've got Ray Peterson doing Promises You Make Now Are Broken. You Made Now Are Broken. So, Promises. Nope. Can't say anything more about that one. Next up, we've got the Jones Girls. And the Jones Girls, You're Gonna Make Me Love Somebody Else. Now that sounds like a country and western title. You're gonna make me love somebody else. Hit number 38, so it's barely in the top 40, but it's in the top 40 in August of 1979. And clearly marked AA-AF. But this side says the same thing, so that doesn't really tell you. I'm assuming that since that one on the other side charted and this one didn't, that's the A side. But Who Can I Run To, being on what I believe to be the B side. Let's see, we got 80-4 and 80-3. So that's another way that we can look to figure out that this was probably more likely than not the A side. So next up, we got one that definitely sounds like a country and western song. Sounds a bit like a country and western artist to me too. Whoops, and the poor guy just took a dive onto the floor. Shame on me. Eddie Kendricks hit number 1 in September of 1973 with a song called Keep On Truckin'. And I'm not sure if it was broken up into 2 parts, or if there was a part 1 and another separate song, part 2. When you get these 45s, sometimes like American Pie by Don McLean, which I just recently mentioned as well, it was broken into 2 parts on both sides. There's some of the older songs too. There was one by Big Bopper that I remember being broken up on 2 sides. But it wasn't uncommon for them to take a long song, cut it in half, and put part 1 on side 1 and part 2 on side 2. This one is a situation where it does have part 2 on side 2. Whether or not it was one song cut in half or 2 different recordings, hard to say when you're not familiar with the artist or the song, and I am not in this particular case, even though it's back to 1973, which is my time period for listening to the radio. Now we've got a Memories label, which is actually the A&M reissue label. And Brenda Russell doing Piano in the Dark, Cry Just a Little. And this one's a little surprising to me because it says it hit number 6 in April of 1988, and this is marked as 1988, and it's got a barcode, one of those later years, when you get close to the end of the 80s, and it's much more common to see those. Earlier on in the 80s, it's much more uncommon. They were late adopters with the barcodes on 45s. But the B-side here is still the same artist, Brenda Russell, with a song called So Good, So Right, but it's from 79, hit number 30 in October of 1979. And it is notated as 79 here as well, so that's rather interesting to have a B-side from 79 and an A-side from 88. Makes me wonder just how well known was this song, Piano in the Dark, and was the Memories just for the B-side, and was this a new release at the time? I don't know. This is something I'd have to look up, do a little research on. But well, clearly, if it hit number 6 in April of '88, this was a new release. So this is a bit of an enigma. This label here. This makes me kind of wonder what the story is on that one. Maybe the first runs weren't on the Memories, and it did good enough to get a second run, and they decided to pair it up with the previous hit she had. Who knows? Here we've got the Oldies series with a copy of the Skyliners, Since I Don't Have You. So, original sound records, so you would hope that would be the original recording. It's got some notations here. I think it says it hit number 12. Not real sure. That might be a 3, a 59 maybe. It's kind of hard for me to see it. I'd have to get my magnifying glass out. The B side of this is, at least again, the Skylighters. Again, Skyliners. I just said Skylighters. I caught myself there. Skyliners doing One Night, One Night. So, and that's going to wrap that episode up. I've got a little stack here. I'll probably grab a few more with some oddities to round out an episode 23. And that'll do it for box 11. So, hope you enjoyed that. Hope you had a wonderful day. And we'll see you again next time.